In this video I will be working on a very realistic skull, borderline hyperrealism, using charcoal, makeup brushes and finger blending techniques to create all those beautiful tones. Once all the tones are down, I will then go in with an eraser to create textures and highlights, and this is when the image will really start to come to life. So for the purpose of this video, I've slowed down the drawing process to give you guys a really good idea of how I'm achieving each value, and I'm pretty confident that anyone starting out on their realism journey, if you were to follow each step and with a little bit of practice, you can easily get the same results. It just takes practice. Prior to starting the drawing, after I selected my reference image, I used an image editing software. In my case I used Photoshop just to bump up the contrast, kind of playing around with the levels and curves, and once I'm happy with the reference, then I'll start sketching it all out. Using a charcoal block, I then start getting all the solid blacks in, and in this case I will be working from dark to light. The solid black will give me my darkest value, and the white of the paper will give me my lightest value, and this will make hand-eye coordination so much easier when referring to the reference image. It's a good practice to get into, and I highly recommend doing this. Yeah, a skull is an excellent reference to use when you're kind of starting out with realism, as there are so many tonal values, and also a skull doesn't have to be perfect, as each mark will kind of add to the individual characteristics of the skull, and it should look pretty cool when it's finished. Well, that's the plan anyway. Can only hope for the best. I'm not too concerned about detail in here. Just getting all that black work down does take a little bit of time, and it is a very messy process. Yeah, it'll just make the whole process a lot easier for when I do start going in with my makeup brushes. Also, as mentioned in previous videos, I use the solid black as a palette, so I will be using the makeup brushes to shade off the solid black to create them medium tones. This will lift some of the solid black, but I just go back in and apply more black and just continue with that process. I normally just use a cheese grater just to file down the charcoal block. That way I also have some charcoal dust there that is the same tonal value as the solid black. So what I'm doing here is I'm just using a medium soft makeup brush, and I'm just kind of blending in from the solid black and just brushing out them tones. I'll continue this process until the whole entire skull is covered, switching between that medium makeup brush, the larger makeup brush as you can see here. This is a fantastic brush for kind of larger areas, as it is super soft, and you can almost get them lightest tones out of this particular brush. I use the smallest and hardest makeup brush then for going in and getting all the kind of finer details in. As mentioned, this is it's going to be a borderline hyperrealism piece, so I do spend a lot of time layering up all the different tones on this for when I start going in with the eraser. You will see that I do use my finger quite a bit in kind of doing the tonal work as well. And the reason for this is I want a smooth blend from the darkest value onto the skull. This way it will give the impression that the skull is coming out of the dark, and to achieve this it's not really achievable with a makeup brush, so that's when I use my finger then to blend the solid black into the darkest tone. I made a video a while ago, I will post it in the comments below, on how I achieved the different tones, and I do recommend, once you have that light layer of tones down with the makeup brush, when you then go in with a finger blending technique, the transition is flawless. It looks lovely. While if you do go in with the finger blending technique first, it looks very rough, and then you will have to start going in with the brushes on top of that. It's a slower process, so get them tones down first and then go in with the finger. Kind of fast forward there a bit because it does take quite a bit of time to build up them tones, and now this is when I start really focusing on realism. I have my eraser kind of cut in a certain way that I have a few little bumps in it, you can see here. So when I apply the flat of the eraser down, it creates all these little marks and details. And this also brings another dimension to the whole entire drawing. Quite a bit of work goes into this, and it's actually quite therapeutic, so it is, especially when you start seeing it all come to life, you know. When in person, when I stand back and look at this, it almost looks like a stone. It's really cool. I ordered my new action camera there, GoPro, so hopefully that will be with me sometime next week, and I can't wait to start making videos with the GoPro because I can attach it to my chest or my head, and it will give anyone who watches the videos an in-depth view as to what I'm looking at and my hand movements and brush movements. So I can't wait to start making future videos with the GoPro. When you're using an eraser to create all these little textures, almost use the eraser like you're using a paintbrush or a makeup brush, you know. The more pressure you apply with the eraser, obviously the more marks you'll make, and the lighter, the softer the marks. So you're also creating all these beautiful little tones with the different pressure you use on the paper. If I was doing this with pencils, for example, graphite pencils, this would take weeks and weeks to get these same results. So by using these techniques with charcoal and eraser, it's so fast. So all those little indents in the skull, I just put a little white kind of border around them just to kind of make it a little bit more 3D. And yeah, everything just looks really cool. Over the next couple of videos, I'm going to be pushing realism. Yeah, it's my favorite way to work, and I love realism. I love charcoal, and I do love using graphite pencils as well. But yeah, I think for the next couple of videos, I'm going to do a couple of fairly realistic pieces, kind of skulls and kind of demons and fun stuff that I'll be used to doing when I'm tattooing. But for anyone who just joined into this channel, I'd really appreciate a subscribe. This boosts my confidence and it also promotes the content. And yeah, for anyone who give it a watch, big thank you as always. And I'd also like to thank the sponsor of this video, being myself, for nearly going blind doing it. And yeah, take care everyone. Lots of love.